Welcome to the Orykl Podcast, where we ask the big question: Hey universe, what's going on? I'm your host, Huenu Solsona, and today we are exploring another fascinating spiritual journey. Let's get started. Hello, friends. Welcome to the Orykl Podcast. Hey universe, what's going on? Today we have one of Orykl's vetted animal communicators, Jacquelin Smith. Welcome, Jacquelin.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here today.
Awesome. Jacqueline, for those that don't know you, can you tell us a bit about your animal communication and what you do as an animal communicator?
Sure. Just to give a little background, I was working as a dog trainer and a registered licensed animal technician. And I was in a serious car accident. And after that, a lot of my psychic talents started booming open after that car accident. And I studied meditation. And so I thought, if I can work with a psychic as people, which I was doing, why not with animals? So I started um, exploring that because at this time there, there was nothing about this. I had an experience. I thought I'm going to try this to communicate. And I went to a zoo. There was a zebra that was standing way across in an exhibit. And I telepathically said, if you can hear me, please walk over to me and stand right in front of me. And I had someone with me who was a witness to that. So the zebra turned and walked directly over to me, stood directly in front of me and looked at me. And I heard, what do you want? And so right then, the zebra was teaching me, as a zebra was teaching me about, the zebra said, well, turn around. And I go, okay. He says, see, you can communicate with me from wherever you are. You don't have to look at me or anything.
Wow.
So I was often running with that. I had other experiences that I had actually validated by people at the zoo, with a gorilla who had been shipped over, a baby gorilla. And I saw that gorilla in a crate being shipped over, the mother killed, because that's what they used to do. And a friend of mine who worked at the zoo checked the records and he said, that's exactly on. So I was really then, I just was off and running and have been off and running ever since. I've been doing this work 45 years now.
Wow. So was
And
that 45 years ago that this happened?
yes, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And so I started, once I started really practicing and building my skills in that, I started offering my skills to people throughout the US and then throughout the world. In my work, I work with behavioral work with the animals. I love doing that work because I can hear them communicate um, what's going on. And then I can help the person understand what is going on with that, with their animal companion.
Mhm.
So I do tons of behavioral work. I also do some um, holistic healing work. I do long distance healing work with animals as well. And also, I work with, communicate with animals who have crossed over. I love doing that work because people always share with me how it brings them to a place of peace and they can better let go.
So when you communicate with an animal, do you need to see a picture of the animal? And obviously you do this online. And how do you communicate with them? Do you ask, hey, can I chat with you? Or, are they there? And also, do you feel them or hear them or see them? How does it work?
Yeah, so um, the way I work with them, I do a lot of work over the phone. I don't need to have a photo. I can really get connected to the animal through the person, um, or just have their name. But a lot of times it's fun. I ask people to share their photos. It's fun to see the photos. And so the way I receive is I can hear them, I can feel them, I can see whatever they send. I can hear it through words. Obviously, they are not sending me words, they're sending me energy, but my brain can translate that into words that I can understand. So they will often share with me, what's going on. And they're very willing, most of them, to communicate. They're very open. And oftentimes I end up working with a person to help them understand what is going on with their animal companion, because they may have misperceptions about what's going on.
Yeah. And I mean, have you always been able to communicate with animals? And did you have to practice, or was it just something that you
Yeah,
had?
for me, this has been very, very natural. It's natural for me to communicate telepathically. And there's a whole nother story to do that, behind this. Actually, I've been doing it my whole life, but it's just part of my makeup. And I've always been psychic, knew what was going to happen ahead of time. And then I really branched off into the animal communication,
Did you
which is amazing.
so did you have any pets growing up?
Yes. Gosh, I grew up with all kinds of pets. We had dogs, we had alligators, there was a crow, we had turtles, we had fish, all kinds of animals. And I used to, when I was younger, ride horses.
Did you grow up in a farm?
No, I grew up in a suburban area, and I
Okay.
used to take riding lessons, and I got very connected to the horses. So I communicate with um, all species. I've had the wonderful opportunity to uh, travel to Africa twice, sit with the mountain gorillas, go to South America to the Galapagos Islands, and communicate with all those animals over there, which was amazing. So I work with all kinds of animals, wild. I grew up with snakes. I love snakes. I've done communication work with snakes, bats, cockroaches, um, just about fleas, just about any species you can imagine.
Oh. And tell me, do say fleas have a or any group of animals have a different outlook on life, or a different, is a group of animals kind of the same and different to another group of animals? In other words, are zebras different to monkeys and different to dolphins?
They are in their vibration and frequency, but the process of communicating with them telepathically is the same.
Hmm.
Being open-hearted, because it is a heart-to-heart language,
Hmm.
and really learning how to listen and receive from
Hmm.
them.
So what going back to the cockroach, what would a cockroach say to you? What would you say to the cockroach? Can you say to them, please don't come in my kitchen? You know?
Well, I actually had an experience and wrote about it in my first book. So when I lived in an apartment a long time ago, there were some cockroaches, and I just said, you guys are so beautiful, because I just love and respect all life forms. So you guys are so beautiful. And I didn't think much of it. It's like my place was really clean, but it was just where I live, there were some around. Well, there started to be more coming. And then I discovered what happened is they were telling their friends that this woman loves cockroaches and will not harm you. So then I had to ask them to leave, and they did leave.
Just by asking them.
Yeah, it took a couple days or so, and I set boundaries, and then I will often show, where I want them to go. I worked with a construction worker who called me to ask cockroaches to leave a place he was going to demolish. So I worked with the roaches, and then I show them a different place to go to, saying, if you don't leave, you're going to lose your bodies.
Yeah.
Here's a better place. There's food over here. And then they make their choice.
Oh, amazing. And when you work with more normal pets, cats and dogs, let's say, what is the typical issue that clients come to you with?
Oh my gosh, all kinds of issues. Some of the most common issues is when dogs are in fear, which is labeled aggression, a certain kind of aggression. So I work with that with dogs, definitely cats using the litter pans, or dogs who are maybe urinating somewhere. And so I kind of process that all through. I always ask them to have the animal checked out by a veterinarian if something that, medical might be going on. But a lot of times I'll talk to the person about where they are at, because I worked with a cat who was urinating on the couch. And I said, who in the household is angry? And she said, my son. And we got him in the counseling. And I worked with a cat to communicate, to let go of the boy's anger that the cat was taking on. And in 2 weeks, we got that turned around. But, the animal often reflect what's going on in the person's life or a family.
Yeah.
So I try and cover all of that.
Yeah. So let's say a cat is peeing on the couch or doing something they shouldn't do. Do you ask them why they're doing that and they give you an answer and they're very willing to speak to you? Is that right?
Yeah.
And tell you what the
Yeah.
issue is.
And I also scan their bodies to see if they might have a UTI.
Mm,
Urinary tract infection, because that can cause them to start urinating in inappropriate places as well. So I go through all of those different processes. The animals are very clear. Most of them are very clear. And then when I can scan their bodies, look to see what's going on, then we can narrow it down, get a picture of the dynamic that's going on, and then work with it. But yes, the animals, most of them are very good and willing to communicate and are seeking healing, and will have messages for their person sometimes. Like my person's not walking me enough, and I'll say to the person, your dog's telling me you're not walking him enough. And they might start laughing and say, oh no, my dog is telling on me.
yeah.
So we work that all out, and
Yeah.
usually ask the person to start walking the dog more.
And what about lost animals? Is that something that you can help with as well?
Yes, I've been tracking lost animals for, gosh, maybe 40 years, really.
Wow.
And it's probably the most challenging work for an animal communicator to do.
Why is
You
that?
know, it's not 100% success, but I do have a lot of success with tracking animals psychically. So when I have their name and or a photo, then I'm able to just psychically track where they are, from the home. I give the person, I might say your dog's a half a mile north of your house, sitting in back of a gray house this moment, um, and give guidance in that way and what to do, to go find them, how to work with the animal, to put out. I have them connect heart to heart, when they go to look for them, to draw the animal to them, because the animals pick up everything we think, feel, and say,
Yeah. No,
everything we're putting out.
I actually did an animal communication course many years ago, which was fascinating. And I started speaking to my cat after that. And before the course, I didn't know that she could hear me. And, I would speak to her like a normal pet. But what was happening is that I was traveling a lot for business and I'd be gone for 1 or 2 nights. If it was 1 or 2 nights, I would just keep her at home. Otherwise, I would send her someplace. And she started developing some like a scar above her eye, like a little sore actually. And every time I went away, it was worse. I'd come back and it was worse. And after the course, I obviously started talking to her a lot more. And I would say to her, look, Roxy, I am just going for 2 days or whatever it was. I'll be back on this day. I am coming back. I've got you. Here's your food, your water, everything. I don't know. We just like talk and talk and talk, and she didn't have that thing anymore. It actually went away. It took, a few months, but it never got worse. And then I started speaking to her all the time. I would just,
That's
yeah,
great.
really, really speak to her. And it was amazing. We had yeah, I mean, I had her for 16 years. I still get sad thinking of her. But in the course also was very interesting. We were trying to picture what she was seeing. And I kept seeing a black box, just a black box. And I thought, that's weird. And then I went home and she always used to sit on a chair on the dining room table. And she was sitting there when I got home. And so I went to pet her and I was at her level and I look up and the bottom of the table was black and it was a black square. And I was like, oh, okay. Because during the course, I was like, well, I'm not getting anything. I'm just getting a black square. And then,
Yep. Yeah.
uh,
It's, that's so wonderful. And yeah, when we look through their eyes, when they show us what they're seeing, that can often help with, some issues that
mhm,
animals might be having. That's
yeah,
so cool.
where they are as well, I suppose, if they're lost. Yeah.
Yeah. And I wanted to mention I do soul recovery work with animals as well as people.
What is that?
It's amazing work. My guidance team taught it to me, but there are people who do soul recovery work. And so I work with mostly rescue animals. And so when trauma happens, they fracture out different energetic pieces, just fracture out and they don't come back. So the animal is left with really not being fully present, and that can cause behavior problems as well.
Mm,
So what I do is I see all that, and what I do is clear all the parts, bring them back, integrate them into their proper bodies. Then I align their entire chakra system with their higher self, soul, and creator, balance their aura, get them grounded in their body, because when these parts leave, they're dissociating. It's like a person. They're dissociated and not totally present. So I've been doing that work a long time, and it really helps the animals to come back to a place of wholeness again, and to really um, be much happier.
yeah. How would you know that that is the issue versus something else?
Well, for me, I can see the dissociated parts. but behavior can also be telling, like if there's key triggers for the animal. Like if someone is standing over an animal and raises their hand and the animal rolls over, the dog rolls over on his back, or, really has a big reaction to that, that's a clue. Maybe that dog was abused, something happened. And so then I always check for that. And then the animal will show me their background. They do that anyway, but where they come from, what happened to them, and they show me the abuse, and I run that through. And so when I do the soul recovery, I clear all of that from their energy fields.
And I imagine
It's
that then the animal is completely different afterwards because that would solve
yeah,
whole
yeah,
issues.
yeah. It's great for most animals. Yeah, it's just um amazing work, really. That and
Are
I
they
have my
thankful
light
to
work. I'm sorry, go ahead.
sorry, are they thankful to you afterwards, like human
You
beings
know,
would?
I have a
Right.
lot of them thank me. And I also I have a whole light worker team I work with where we do this work.
Right.
And the animals guidance team included. So to integrate, because after get it all integrated, get them integrated, I want that to continue. So I always invite their guidance team and others to continue to integrate that work over the upcoming months. But yeah, it with some animals I've worked with, it's had literally overnight results where one dog was attacking another dog. And plus I had a talk with that dog who was attacking, but he was dissociated. So I did a soul recovery, and the person called me the next day and said, "This is amazing. He just stopped attacking the other dog."
Amazing. Yeah. So it
It's
sounds like animals are very similar to people. Do they also have a team of spirit guides? Is it kind of the same for animals and people, or
yes,
what's
yes,
different?
they have their whole team of spirit, their guidance team, just like we do.
Wow.
Definitely, they are souls just like we are. We're just in different forms.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, well, amazing. And Jacquelin, I know that there's another whole side story to you, which I think we're going to cover in another podcast. But that's your relationship with star beings and your experiences with star beings. But we'll keep up for the next one. Is there anything that you would like to share as a parting thought? Any messages that maybe we didn't cover?
I just want to share that the beautiful thing about animal communication is everyone can learn and do animal communication because it is innate within us to telepathically communicate. And I've taught a lot of workshops with it. So I feel that it's important for everyone to know that they too can do this, and that the animals love hearing their people.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree. So thank you for that. Thank you for the chat. And I look forward to the next one. So
Okay.
thanks, Lynn.
Thank you.